China has finally reached the historic turning point. In all likelihood, it is no more the world's most populous country. Last week, the country announced its first population decline in over 6 decades. China is now home to the world's largest population of older people, and it is fast losing the demographic dividend that it enjoyed over the last several decades. The baton has been passed to India now. According to estimates, it is now the world's most populous nation, and by 2050, it will be home to 1.67 billion people. China will have a population of 1.32 billion by then. The United Nations, up until 2019, had forecast that China's population will peak in 2031. Last year, after a revision in methodology, it found that China's population would peak in 2022, and going forward, the population will be in a decline. This comes at a time when China's economy grew at a meager 3%, which is its second lowest growth rate since the 1970s. According to the World Population Review, India's population was 50 lakhs more than that of China's towards the end of 2022. But India's total fertility rate, or TFR, has declined from 2.2 in 2015-16 to 2.0 in 2019-21, according to the National Family Health Survey. The required TFR for replacement, that is the rate at which population replaces itself from one generation to next, leading to a net zero growth, is 2.1. So, does India's reduced TFR suggest that India is heading the same path as that of China?
We are just experiencing replacement level of fertility. At the same time, India has huge socioeconomic or regional variation in fertility. So it is very unlikely that, India will experience the same kind of situation as such China. And when it comes for her, what lessons we can learn, one is, of course, there should not be cohesive policy, population policy. But, we in India, because there is extreme diversity even in fertility. So keeping certain limit, we can debate whether we want to control the family plan, we want to control the number of children or not. At the same time, we can also debate whether it is the number 2 or number 3 or number 4 we want to fix. But keeping certain cap is essential, because in India we have extremely high population density.
According to the National Statistical Bureau of China, the share of the working age population was 62% in 2022, a decrease from 70% last decade. China defines working age as between 16 and 59. In the case of India, the working age population share was 67% in 2020. According to a Confederation of Indian Industry report, India will add another 100 million people in the working age group by 2030. This comes despite the fact that India's TFR has been on a decline. In this scenario, what can India learn from China's population woes?
I think our population is an asset, honestly. So I feel like, the control measures that China had put down, there are various studies which have been done which talked about the few pros and the many cons. At that time, China was going through a massive food security issue. They couldn't feed their, population, and that's why they had to come to this one child, sort of a situation. India is not there. I don't think we have a challenge of, feeding our large growing population, but we are not at the point where we have to create these kind of very stringent and oppressive policies where, you have to restrict the, the number of children a family can have. So I don't think that's needed. I think what's needed is to figure out how do we capitalize our demographic dividend. It's an asset, and how do we see it as an asset? How do we put it to use? So I think, I don't think that, creating sort of these very stringent policies about one child, two child is needed in India, really.
According to the National Statistical Bureau of China, the key reason for the contraction in population was a decline in the number of newborns. Kang Yi, the head of NSB, said the main reason for decline in the number of births was drop in people's willingness to have babies, delay in marriage and pregnancy, and fall in the number of women in childbearing age. China's total fertility rate, or TFR, has been on a decline since the 1970s. In 2016, China ended its one-child policy in a bid to increase the young population. However, it did not work. In 2018, the TFR was 1.8, which fell to 1.3 in 2020. In 2013, the country allowed about 12 million couples to have a second child. However, only 12% of the eligible women applied. The population crisis unfolding in China has brought focus back to the debate on population control in India. China's one-child policy may have served the immediate purpose for which it was formulated, but in the long run, it has shown its drastic impact. India, on the other hand, does not seem to require such coercive population control. Instead, it needs to invest in its young workforce.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.